costs. Larry had found himself with a litter of puppies and a desperate need to settle a $25 debt with Jack. "A dog!" Jonna shrieked, her voice reaching a pitch that could shatter glass and probably alert every neighbor within a 3-block radius. "Jack, have you lost your mind? Look at the lease. Clause for no pets. Clause 5, no loud music. Clause 6, no joy allowed on the premises. It's not a dog, Johnny, it's a puppy. There's a biological difference," Jack argued, holding up the shivering ball of brown and white fur. The puppy licked Jack's chin, looking as innocent as a cloud. And Larry said he'd have to, put it to sleep if I didn't take it. He used the S word, Johnny, the S word. Chrissy's heart melted instantly. She was a sucker for anything with fur legs and sad eyes. "Oh, Jack, we can't let him do that. Look at those eyes. They're so sad. They're like little chocolate puddles. Those eyes are looking for a place to ruin the carpet." Jonna sighed, her practical nature warring with her maternal instincts. She looked at the puppy, and the puppy looked back. Jonna lost. What are we going to call him? If we're going to be evicted, he at least needs a name for the court papers. Trooper, Jack decided, a grin spreading across his face, because he's going to have to be a soldier to survive in this building with Old Man Roper on the prowl. Keeping Trooper a secret from Stanley Roper became a full-time military operation. It required timing, stealth, and a lot of air freshener. Every time the heavy, rhythmic thud of Stanley's footsteps echoed in the hallway, a sound the roommates had learned to recognize like a heartbeat, the puppy was whisked into a kitchen cabinet or hidden under a laundry basket filled with Jack's gym clothes. Jack even practiced a fake cough to cover up the puppy's occasional yaps, which often resulted in Jonna asking if he had contracted tuberculosis. But the stress of the secret was taking its toll, particularly on Chrissy. She was the worst at keeping secrets, and her anxiety tended to manifest in strange ways. Her old childhood affliction had returned with a vengeance. Sleepwalking. It started on a Tuesday night. Jonna was awakened by the sound of the front door clicking shut. She rushed into the living room, her heart pounding, only to find Chrissy dressed in a pale blue nightgown, walking toward the balcony with the grace of a ghost. Her eyes were wide open, but vacant, staring into a dream world where, presumably, rent was free and bosses didn't have wandering hands. "Chrissy, stop! You're going to fall," Jonna whispered, grabbing her arm gently. Chrissy didn't blink. She merely turned her head and began to recite the prices of various flower arrangements in a monotone voice. "Carnations are 2 for $1. Baby's breath is extra. We don't take out-of-state checks." The next morning at breakfast, the mood was somber. Jack was drinking coffee like it was his only source of life. "It's the dog," Jonna said, pointing a finger at Jack. "The guilt is eating her up. And it's your boss, Christopher Columbus. The poor girl is so stressed she's trying to escape her own life in her sleep. I can't help it, Chrissy moaned, resting her head on the table next to a bowl of soggy cereal. Every time Mr. Rogers asks me to take a letter, I feel like I'm running a marathon. And his secretary is out sick, so I'm doing double the work and double the dodging. Don't worry, Jack said, trying to be the man of the house. I'll stay up tonight. I'll be the sentry. I'll guard the door and the dog. No one gets out, and no landlord gets in. I'm like a watchdog, only with better hair. Chapter 4, The Culinary Disaster of Apartment 101. The situation came to a head on a Thursday afternoon when the sun was particularly hot and Stanley's mood was particularly foul. Jack was in the kitchen, attempting to whip up a nutritious meal for Trooper. Since they couldn't risk buying obvious cans of dog food that Stanley might spot in the communal trash bins, Jack was cooking from scratch, using his culinary school knowledge for the most unconventional of clients. He was simmering a mixture of beef scraps, bone meal, and various leftover vegetables that had seen better days. "Smells interesting," said a voice from the doorway. Jack jumped nearly a foot into the air, knocking over a salt shaker. It was Helen Roper. She had slipped in, as she often did, seeking a reprieve from the sound of Stanley complaining about the price of eggs. "Oh, Mrs. Roper, you caught me. Practicing for my final exam," Jack stammered, trying to block her view of the pot with his body. "Practicing what? Alchemy? Or just boiling laundry?" Helen asked, peering into the bubbling brown mess. She fanned the air. "It has a very robust aroma. It's a very traditional French beef bourguignon." Jack lied, his brain working at a fever pitch. "It's a rustic peasant recipe. Very earthy. Very bone heavy. It's all the rage in Paris right now. Well, it smells better than the frozen pot pie Stanley's been living on." Helen noted wistfully. "He thinks pepper is an exotic spice." Jack saw an opportunity to get her out of the room before Trooper started whining. "Please, take some. I made far too much. It's a huge batch. It's for the girls, but they're on a strict liquid diet. You'd be doing me a favor by taking it off my hands." An hour later, downstairs in apartment 101, Stanley Roper sat before a steaming bowl of Jack's French creation. He looked at it like it was a live bomb. "What is this slop?" Stanley asked, poking a suspicious gray lump with his spoon. "It looks like something that fell off a rendering truck in the middle of July." "It's gourmet, Stanley," Helen snapped, already digging into her own dinner, which was fortunately not the stew. "Jack Tripper made it. He's a chef. It's supposed to be good for your coat, I mean, your complexion. Eat it. It was free." Stanley took a tentative sniff. "Smells like a kennel, but I'm starving. And I'm not paying for a hamburger." Upstairs, Jack's conscience finally caught up with him. He was a chef, and there were rules about who you fed what. The realization that he had fed the landlord A mixture designed for a 6-week-old puppy hit him like a physical blow. He raced down the stairs, his heart hammering against his ribs, and burst into the Ropers' living room just as